Take this money, get rid of that thing in your belly, and never show your face here again." Her voice cut through me like shards of ice. My husband's grave wasn't even fully covered with dirt yet. Just days ago, she held my hands, calling me her beloved daughter. Now she was throwing a crumpled wad of cash at me like I was garbage, locking the heavy mahogany doors of the brownstone in my face. A pregnant widow, penniless, standing alone in the unforgiving, sweltering streets of New York. But I didn't know, this wasn't just a cruel eviction. It was a perfectly executed murder plot. I stood there on the concrete, paralyzed, my trembling hand instinctively resting on my 4-month belly. The echo of her heart-wrenching wails at the funeral was still resonating in my ears. Isabella, my mother-in-law, had seemed entirely broken. She had clung to his coffin, her tears soaking the polished wood. But looking at the cold, unfamiliar monster who had just slammed the door, I realized I had been living inside an incredibly elaborate illusion. Just over a week ago, my life was a picture-perfect dream that any young woman would desire. I am Sophia. I was a simple, quiet kindergarten teacher in a small town in Oregon's Willamette Valley. My parents were humble vintners, working the earth their whole lives. My world changed the day Alex walked in. He was a brilliant civil engineer, managing a new project near my town. He was mature, kind, with a warmth in his words that made me feel entirely safe. He loved my tenderness, my authenticity, the patience I had with the children. The day he proposed, my family cried tears of pure joy. My parents wanted nothing but a safe harbor for me, and Alex was the strongest harbor we could imagine. The first time I visited Isabella's grand New York brownstone, she had held my hands for hours, her eyes crinkling with what I thought was genuine affection. "Consider me your own mother, Sophia. Tell me anything without hesitation," she had whispered warmly. And I believed her. I naively believed I had won the lottery of life. Our wedding was beautiful. Alex moved me to the city, into a spacious apartment he said was a wedding gift. He spoiled me, showering me with love, refusing to let me do heavy chores, telling me my hands were meant for caring for children, not for labor. When I told him I was pregnant, he spun me around our living room, pressing his ear to my stomach, whispering endless promises to our unborn son. But happiness is fragile. A storm ripped it away on a quiet, fateful afternoon. Alex told me he had to leave suddenly for a construction site in the Rocky Mountains. I ironed every shirt for him, kissed him goodbye, telling him to be careful. 2 days later, a call shattered my world. His SUV had plummeted down a mountain pass. No one survived. Everything became a blurry mess of tears and heart-wrenching pain. I fainted. When I woke up, Isabella was there, sobbing, hugging me. But the moment the last guest left the funeral, her tears vanished. She stared at me with pure disgust. The warm mother-in-law was gone, replaced by a ruthless tyrant. She blamed me, calling me a bad omen who destroyed her son's luck. She stripped me of my house keys, my car keys, my dignity. She fed me stale bread while I scrubbed floors for the mourning relatives. And then the final blow, she packed my clothes in a cheap suitcase, threw it on the street, and handed me the address to a women's health clinic. The New York sun beat down on me, but I was shivering from a chill spreading from my heart. Where could I go? Back to my aging parents, carrying a child they'd be heartbroken to see rejected? Or to that clinic, to erase the last living trace of the man I loved? The letters on the clinic's address danced in front of my blurry eyes. "Get rid of that burden," she had said. But instinct is a powerful thing. An underground clinic recommended by a woman who just threw me away isn't where you go to heal. It's where you go to disappear. I tore up Isabella's paper. I wandered the streets, my legs exhausted, my belly aching, until I found a different place. A faded private clinic hidden away in a narrow alley, hoping for discretion. Dr. Ramirez, an elderly man with thick glasses and a kind voice, examined me. When the black and white image of my child appeared on the screen, when I heard the strong, regular beats of his heart thump, 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 all my strength crumbled. I broke down completely. He handed me a tissue, waiting patiently. "Your baby is very healthy," he said gently, but then his eyes darkened, and he asked me strange questions about my courtship with Alex, about Isabella's approval. "Miss, don't get rid of the child," he said, his voice suddenly firm. "Trust me. Come with me to see someone. You will understand everything." I was terrified, completely confused. But desperation makes you blind. I got into his old gray sedan, leaving my fate in a stranger's hands, staring out at the noisy city that didn't care about my pain. We arrived at a secluded place called Serenity Cafe. A man was waiting at a corner table. When he lifted his head, my heart stopped. Charles, Alex's absolute best friend, his brother in all but blood. Sophia, please sit, he said, pushing a warm cup of tea toward me, his face drawn with remorse. What I'm about to tell you will shock you, but I ask you to stay calm. Alex is not dead. The cup shattered on the floor. Hot tea splashed everywhere, but I felt nothing. My ears were ringing. Not dead? Whose body did I weep over? Why did you deceive me? Charles pleaded with his eyes, gesturing for me to lower my voice. He owed millions to ruthless loan sharks, Sophia. Organized crime. They threatened his life, your life, the baby. Faking his death with a homeless man's body was the only way to protect you. He instructed me to tell you only if you were truly cornered. Relief washed over me like a tidal wave, but a chilling realization quickly followed, sharp as a blade. If Alex faked his death to save me, why was Isabella actively trying to destroy me? Charles hesitated, his voice dropping to a painful whisper. Because Isabella knew Sophia. But her creditors weren't the mob. They were normal legal partners. Alex just wanted to disappear temporarily to raise funds. He trusted his mother to protect you. But Isabella saw an opportunity. She used his plan to manipulate him. Why do people fall into the trap set by their own families? In psychology, familial gaslighting is the deadliest weapon. Isabella didn't use force. She used a mother's tears. She convinced Alex that the creditors were assassins coming for his pregnant wife. She played on his noble instinct to protect us, making him believe vanishing completely was the only heroic choice. He walked into the trap, thinking he was a savior, unaware his own mother was pulling the strings, wanting to erase his wife because I wasn't rich enough, wasn't worthy of her elite status. Charles handed me a wiped phone. Alex left this with me. He said if anything bad happened, give it to you. I locked myself in a safe apartment Charles found for me. My hands shook as I stared at the blank screen. I guessed the password, our son's due date. The screen unlocked. Tears streamed down my face. Even in his darkest hour, his mind was on us. Inside a hidden folder, I found audio recordings. Alex had been secretly recording Isabella. I listened to her guilt trip him, feed his panic. But the last recording, the one taken the day before the accident, made the blood in my veins turn to ice. Isabella's voice, and a hoarse male voice, her brother. When he reaches the exact spot, the truck's brakes will accidentally fail. There won't be a trace left. Good, Isabella replied coldly. As for his little wife and that burden, once Alex is gone, I'll take care of them myself. I dropped the phone. I ran to the bathroom and vomited violently on the cold floor. This wasn't a fake death. This was murder. A mother plotting to kill her own son for inheritance. Women are told they become fragile in pregnancy, but listening to that cold metallic voice, a primal violent instinct woke up inside me. The fear was dead. I wiped my mouth. I had to find my husband. Charles and I raced against time. We found a clue in Alex's memories. St. Jude's retreat in the remote Adirondack Mountains. It was an isolated sanctuary he loved. I insisted on going, heavily pregnant, accompanied by Dr. Ramirez, the kind man who had saved me. The climb up the mountain was grueling. My lungs burned. Every step was agony, but thinking of Alex alone and hunted kept my feet moving. At the ancient stone-walled retreat, the abbot told us no one by that name was there. My heart sank. But then, a young novice mentioned a guest hiding in the west wing. My heart soared. We rushed toward the wing, but a chilling voice stopped us dead in our tracks. Looking for Alex? He's not here. Dr. Ramirez stood by an old tree. The kind, grandfatherly smile was gone. His eyes were dead, calculating. You're smarter than I thought, Ramirez sneered, his voice mocking. I didn't expect you to find my clinic. But it's too late. Alex was never here. This is a trap. Why? Charles roared, stepping in front of me. You were his father's friend. Ramirez laughed dryly. friend? His father betrayed me, stole my company, stole the woman I loved 30 years ago. Took me decades to rebuild. I swore I would make his bloodline pay. Isabella? She thinks she's so smart, but she's just a stupid puppet I manipulated to kill her own son. 4 massive men emerged from the shadows. Charles fought bravely, but was quickly knocked unconscious by a brutal blow to the head. 2 men grabbed me. Ramirez approached slowly, pulling a syringe dripping with yellow liquid from his coat. Easy now, girl. Just a moment, and all your worries will be over. No, my son. I cannot die here. I gathered every ounce of strength and bit the man's arm with savage force. He screamed. I broke free, running desperately toward the chapel, screaming for my life. They caught me, dragging me back. But a figure in a brown habit appeared. The abbot. He struck the men with his heavy wooden staff. This is a sacred place. You cannot commit impure acts here, he thundered. As Ramirez argued, mocking the old monk, a sound pierced the mountain silence. Sirens. Red and blue lights flashed through the trees. Panic erased Ramirez's smug face. Get out, he yelled, and they fled into the dense woods. I collapsed against a wooden pillar. The police arrived, led by Detective Morales. I handed him the phone with the recordings. He revealed the horrifying truth. Ramirez, real name Ramiro Vargas, was a notorious crime boss. This wasn't just family drama. It was an organized crime vendetta. But who called the police? Morales smiled. We got an anonymous text this morning. St. Jude's Retreat. Save someone. A week later, just as I was losing hope, a miracle happened. A rural hospital called about a John Doe from a car crash with severe amnesia. The long scar on his left arm confirmed it. It was Alex. When I walked into his hospital room, my heart shattered all over again. He looked at me with empty, soulless eyes. Excuse me. Who are you? I swallowed my agony. I sat on the edge of the bed. I am Sophia. I'm your wife. Day by day I sat by his bed, rebuilding his world with stories of our love, our child. Slowly the fog lifted. The memory of the crash returned. He remembered the truck, the trap, and a strange warning text he received seconds before impact. Turn around. Trap. He remembered giving a backup number to an estranged college friend he ran into days prior. A friend named Marcus. When I finally met Marcus at a quiet cafe, the truth he revealed was the ultimate paradox. Ramiro Vargas is my biological father, Marcus said, his voice heavy with bitterness. He was the illegitimate son, rejected and despised. But instead of inheriting the evil, Marcus chose the light. He had been tracking his father's crimes for years, trying to bring him down. He tipped off Alex. He called the police to the retreat. When hatred is passed down, it spreads like a virus. Ramirez wanted to destroy Alex to avenge the past. But Marcus proved that trauma is inherited, but cruelty is a choice. To protect justice, he had to betray his own blood. Our peace was almost shattered when Ramiro escaped custody during a fake heart attack. He headed for a final showdown at an old Brooklyn dock warehouse. But Marcus and Detective Morales were ready. They anticipated his move. Ramiro was finally captured permanently. Isabella and her brother faced maximum prison sentences for conspiracy to murder. Months later, the cries of a newborn boy filled a small, quiet hospital room. Alex held our son, tears streaming down his face. He's our miracle, Sophia. We didn't go back to the wealthy life. We opened a humble carpentry shop. I returned to teaching. The fortune, the mansions, the legacy. They were just gilded cages built on lies. If we ever get too tired, Alex used to joke, we'd retire to the mountains. But looking at my husband and our beautiful boy, breathing in the scent of fresh sawdust and morning coffee, I know I don't need to run anywhere. The storm is over. And right here in the light we have finally found our peace. Disclaimer. This video is created for the sole purpose of entertainment. All situations, characters, and stories in this video are fictional and are built entirely using artificial intelligence technology. We hope you have a relaxing time.